So last week we had the unusual situation where the PS Vita actually had an update. This was the first time in a couple of years, which made it pretty new and unexpected. Now, at the time, I put out a video and said that I thought this was potentially a good thing. That the fact that Sony was doing an update for the Vita, it was a security update, so it made 2FA a bit more stricter when it comes to the Vita. And so I said it was a good thing because maybe this was a sign that they were actually trying to improve security because they were going to keep the store running for longer. That was my hope anyway. It's turned out that there is a downside, a big downside actually, to the update. So what Sony was kind of a bit, it was a little bit hidden kind of in their messaging, and I only really learned about it yesterday, that the Vita you can no longer transfer games from your Vita to a PS3 and vice versa. Now, that was one of the main ways that you could use to back up your Vita games. The Vita, as we all know, if you've got a legitimate Vita unhacked, then it's got very little storage. The 64 gig memory card is not a great big size, and they're very expensive. Backing up games to a PC or PS3 were the ways where you could kind of help in terms of saving games in somewhere else and having a backup somewhere. So I know a lot of people were backing their Vitas up to PS3s so that they would have their games stored somewhere in case they wanted to transfer it back. But now that's not an option. They've literally locked down that we can't transfer Vita games from a PS3 back to a Vita. What makes this worse is that some Vita games, you can still obviously download games from the Vita store, but there were some games that are not actually on the Vita store. Games like Romancing Saga 3 or Third Birthday, both of which are great by the way, they were available on the PS3 store, but not the Vita store. So you could buy them, download them on the PS3, transfer it to your Vita. That's no longer an option. So we've lost a way to back up our games. And also we've completely lost some games from the Vita store now. You can still back up to a PC, and that's actually what I've been doing. I did a video ages ago, which I'll link, on how to back up your games to a PC. It's very, very simple, but this is still very frustrating that they've just taken away this functionality with really no notice, no communication, just kind of a note on the website saying that this is no longer available, which is really just rubbish. The fact that they made these memory cards so small and so expensive to begin with, having that PS3 backup option was a way to kind of circumvent the fact that you didn't have a lot of storage on the Vita, and now that's gone. They just took it away without any notice whatsoever. I mean, look, ultimately I hope that all of this means that they're going to keep the Vita store open longer. But it's just really annoying. You know, they're doing these really silly moves. And I learned today as well that they're charging people in Asia who stacked on PS Now subscriptions to move to the PS Plus, the best tier, whatever it's called. So I don't know. Sony are just making some really crappy moves right now, and I'm not happy with the fact that they've taken this option away, that they've removed that functionality from the Vita and PS3 without really communicating it up front. You know, honestly, guys, there is so little reason to not hack your Vita. I know there are still a fair number of people out there that, you know, like the fact they haven't hacked their Vita, that are still kind of want to make sure they're supporting Sony, but honestly, just hack it. It just makes so much sense. Hack it, put a 512 gig SD card in there, have all of your games in one place. You can still go on the store, you can still download things. You know, I don't advocate piracy. I don't think, I'm not a fan of how easy it is to pirate Vita games. But, you know, if you've got a big library of Vita games like me, then just hack it and put a massive SD card in there and put all of it in one place so you've got it. And you can even then just back up the whole SD card to a hard drive so that if anything went wrong, you could kind of retransfer it back to another hacked Vita. But this is rubbish, just rubbish. Sony being Sony, you know, taking that functionality away with no communication. I really hope eventually they will close the store, but I hope they just communicate it and give us time so that we can actually grab anything we want and download anything we want. But really, guys, I can't I can't advocate it enough. Just hack your Vita and put a proper memory card in there. The 64 gig memory cards, you know, touch wood, mine hasn't failed yet, but there's been lots of reports of people's cards failing. You don't want to be in that position where you're literally stuck and Sony eventually closes the store down and you've got a Vita with no games on it. And physical games are expensive now, so I think hack it and just kind of enjoy that functionality and enjoy other functionality. Like you can take screenshots of anything, you can do translation patches for games. There's so much you can do with a hacked Vita outside of piracy. But yeah, rubbish news. I'm not a fan of what Sony have done. But I felt like I should kind of mention it, especially since I was so positive on the news last week and so hopeful of what it could mean. It turns out kind of I was wrong, at least in part, because there are negative consequences to the patch from last week, the update from last week, other than just kind of making it a little bit trickier to log in. Anyway, guys, let me know in the comments, how do you feel about this? Does it change anything for you guys? Have you backed up your Vitas to PC? How have you found it? And if you haven't hacked your Vita yet, are you thinking about it now? Has Sony done enough to kind of damage the sort of the Vita experience for you that this is a consideration? Leave a comment below, and as always, thanks for watching.